Hey everyone, it's Makito here. I'm reviewing another game for my student Romie. Right now he is apparently 22Q, or he was last week. This is a little bit of a overdue review. Um, let's go over it. We'll go over some basic shapes and some principles as they come up. Let's see. Romie was playing as white. One thing that I wanted to point out, Romie played over here. The thing about these two stones here, this kind of makes a corner enclosure, or a shamari, I think in Japanese. And so one thing is saying, hey, I'm trying to make these my points. And the other thing that it's saying is, hey, this is the next direction I want to go to make a lot of points. Let's say, black plays this and white plays this in the game, or even this, and this. Now it's black's turn. He immediately wants to go here or here. Sorry. Because once black plays here, let's say white plays somewhere else, black can make a very big box. Making boxes in Go is a very efficient way of making points. You could see that, like, you use these as field goals, I guess, or stakes or something, to stake out this territory, to try and wall in this territory. So that's why when your opponent makes a shamari, or a corner enclosure, the direction of the game kind of focuses here at the very moment. So if I was playing white, I'm not saying this is a big mistake, but I just want you to be aware. I would actually play here. This nullifies black a little bit on where he wants to go, because this is where he wanted to go. And then it also makes a nice 5 extension from your zone. So you're kind of building. Let's say if black played over here or something, and we'll just play out something normal. Now white can build a double wing, and this is called the double wing formation. This didn't happen in the game. The only reason I'm bringing it up is the fact that I like this move because it stops black from what it's doing, and later on you might be able to get another stone here forming the double wing. This double wing usually leads to a lot of points. It's good in your games. But this is fine. It's very minor. It might not even be considered a mistake. I just wanted you to be aware this is like kind of where I would be thinking about playing, and this is the direction that black wishes to play. So this was very basic and normal. It's good. The only problem is you played here next. This is very uncommon. I was trying to figure out a good way for black to punish this. It's a little tough. Maybe breaking the tiger's mouth. Like if white gets to play here, this would be a tiger's mouth shape. See? Tiger's mouth, tiger's mouth. If you didn't know, this is the tiger's mouth. One stone here, making like a mouth shape here. Anyway, so as black, I would want to probably break the tiger's mouth. Maybe white would play something like this. And now I was thinking about playing here, and this would be okay. If white wants to keep his small territory, black gets this nice approach, it would go something like this. Something along this line, where black's like still okay for now. White didn't make that many points, and white didn't actually get to profit on this side though. But the point is that this move, it's very slow, I think. The normal move is for white to play like this. This is like the very basic joseki, and it just feels like you got 2 stones, you have a nice like base laid out, and later you can poke in here or like keep moving out over here or something, right? Like normally black would play this, and this would be a normal game. Anyway, I think this move is weird, and I don't have the perfect punishment for it, but it just doesn't feel like it's appropriate. In the real game, he played this though, and you played this, which is fine, but also kind of strange. The reason is because when you have one stone on the side, the next move that you want to do, not the next move you want to do, but as far as you want to go, you usually only want to do a 2-space jump. 1 stone, 2-space jump, 2 stones, 3-space jump. That's pretty basic stuff. The reason is that when you have 1 stone, if you play a 2-space jump, black cannot separate you. But if you play 1 stone in a 3-space jump, black can totally separate you. And usually it will be okay. So black would live, and then black can separate, right? Or if something like this separated. So it's not, whereas if you have a 2-space wall and you do a 3-space jump, now it's a lot harder for black to do anything. Right. It's very hard for black to get out with this diagonal here. So we'll move on. But point being is that you did a 3-space jump, and I feel like black could just jump in here right now and try and separate you. If white plays on top, black will come out this way. White separates, Atari. And now you can see these white stones are really cramped and like just crying out loud, you know? Like you'd have to do a lot of moves and still not be safe, right? I'm not like playing this perfectly, but it could easily be something like this, and white's like has no eyes yet, and he's helping black create a lot of influence, this big wall here in the middle. Point being is, because of this 3-space extension, black can play in here. I think I played out something for this. I think whichever way white wants to play, black can attempt to separate. I'm not saying it's perfect. Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a good timing to jump in here at this very second, but the fact is that he can. So I think normally white would do the 2-space jump at this point. But once again, it's all because you played A. The normal move is just to do this, and then later you have options. So we'll move on. I spent a lot of time on that. Okay, let's see. This move is probably your losing move. This is breaking really like important principles. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this principle, but it's not to play next to your enemy's walls or thickness. You're playing way too close to black's thickness. These 2 stones, as I told you, are the corner enclosure. You can kind of think of them as like a wall, basically, trying to get these points inside here. And because they're, you know, a wall, they are strong, and they're allowed to attack this stone because you played way too close. So the very next move black did, I don't know how efficient it was, but he played this. And this is the idea that he had a wall here, so now he's attacking this stone. In the game, if I was playing as black, I'd probably play something like this. I think white has some shenanigans. but it's very difficult. Maybe I'd even just play here first. Let white, so I'm taking the corner, let white do his 2-space jump, and then try and cramp him. So, I don't know. But this is way too close, and this gave you a really bad result in the game, which I think, honestly, is your biggest mistake of the game. And you might argue, hey, I lived, but the fact is that you lived extremely small. This black stone is still over your stone, meaning that if he just turns right now, you can't go anywhere over here anymore. And it's protruding, or maybe not the word protruding, it's developing a lot of influence in the center, right? Like black only has to do something like this. And now white is completely trapped. What did I do next? So I played thick. If white doesn't do anything, black plays here and white's dead, so white connects. And now you can see all of black's stones are completely linked up, and he has a humongous wall facing the perfect center. Plus he has this black turn, so white can barely do anything at all, right? And now white has to come back and live somehow. It's terrible. Terrible. And it's all because you played way too close to thickness, which is this move. I think you should have played something like this. And once again, this works with your white stone, and it takes away what black wanted. On top of that, you're not playing too close to his thickness, so it's hard for him to attack you. Like if he plays somewhere over here, you're going to be the one attacking him. He can't make a good base, right? So, anyway. Don't play close to thickness. I don't want to see this in your games no more. Let's see. So we'll move on. Oh, this was my variation. This was very weird for black, but it was whatever. If I was playing, I would do this turn immediately and do that variation I showed you. This is very bad shape. So this is the shape I want you to focus on. Do not make this, and if he can Atari you so easily and get good result from it. Like, why not just pull back here? Now these two stones are forever linked, and you're making points. I don't understand why you just didn't pull back. So this is a very common thing that happens, where white attaches underneath black. Black Ataris, or attempts to Atari, he Hanes, I'm sorry. And then white will pull back to his stone, so now he's making points in safety. But when you play something like this, first of all, black can do this. I'm not saying this is good, because it doesn't look like it is, but I'm just saying he can. Second, this is the better variation, where white has to connect, right? And then black can turn here, and now you do that whole formation. I'll just go over it very quickly. And now black not only got all the center influence, but now he is building territory over here in a sense as well. Like, white could take this, but it's only 1 point. And now, you know, black is perfectly fine and even has more strength in the center. So this was a really bad shape. I don't want you to make this shape, this diagonal, when your opponent can Atari you so easy to make something good. Like, I really think this is the common shape. Even if we were to do it this way, and black Hanes this way, the common move is to come back here to connect with your guy. You wouldn't play something like this, right? Because now black's ahead of you, and you're behind. See? Black's ahead. So you wouldn't play that way. You'd come back and play this. And now, if black plays something like this, you can move ahead very quickly. Now you're 1 step ahead, if that makes sense to you. So we'll go back. Let's see. So yeah, he ended up playing here. It's not my variation, but it's fine. It does the same exact job. It's building a wall to the center. So this was the point of the game where you needed to step back, look at the global situation, not just locally on points. You wanted to look at the global situation of like, okay, what does black have? What do I have? Who's winning? Where's the influence? Where's the points where you can get the most? And the answer is the center now, because black has this really nice thickness here, these triangle stones that I marked. So immediately I'd be thinking about Tengen. I know that sounds usually wrong, but it feels right in this situation, because you kind of have a stone here, you have a stone here, and a stone here. So this is like building a big box, right? Like this is a big box. And this is where black wants to go. Like, let's say white played this in the game. If black plays here, now he's built a big box, right? Which I won't, as it's funny, as white I would want to play here, but as black I'd want to play this. So if you didn't want to play this, this was also my next move that I was thinking of. This is really good for white, because you're pretty much essentially doing the same thing. You're building territory, or a wall, I'm sorry, you're building a wall facing your stones, meaning that you're trying to make territory, while you're building up into black's territory, so you're taking away his potential. There was another variation I had, I think, set up for this. But I don't see it, so I'll just do it. I was thinking also, if black was scared, then you'd do something like this, something like this, something like this. And so now you're building, once again, a wall, trying to make points, and you're diving into black where he couldn't make points. So this was the point of the game. I was trying to point out that you should have stepped back and asked yourself, where can black make points, where can white make points? Because black has a wall here, he can make a lot of points in the center. So that's where I would have focused on trying to break up. This move was too slow. What did black do in the real game? He almost played Tengen. He played here, but you can see essentially it's the same stuff, right? I would have played over here in my opinion, but it's fine. This is really slow. But if you were worried about dying, I suppose maybe I would have played this just to like guarantee some life. Or here first. Maybe some. I don't know. Let me think. I mean, do you even have to worry about being alive, right? I suppose I'd be a little worried, but okay, I'm not sure. If you were worried about being alive, maybe I would have just played, maybe even this, right? Something like that. And now there's no question about it, you're alive. This just doesn't feel right. But we'll move on. Good. I think you should immediately have followed up. Black can cut you off. This should be a good shape to learn. Is when you have this diagonal here, you're very safe to play A. It's a good shape. You ended up playing here. Doesn't look like it does too much at the moment. I would definitely have played here, but we'll move on. Oh, sorry, you played this one. We'll move on. Okay. Here, you did a good move, and then you ruined it. So, I think this is the last mistake I'm just gonna go over when it comes to shape. Yeah, that's good. This is really good. When black has a two-step hane, if you know what a hane is, it means to turn the corner. So you're like kind of hugging this white stone by turning. Think of it like a car, right? You'd move over and then you'd turn. So this is called a hane in Japanese. White hanes as well, and now black has this double hane. So like you think of it as like turn 1, turn 2. It's very good to Atari here. This was an extremely good move. But the idea is that when you play this move, you know it's going to die. And you just want to use it to get a better shape and performance. So black has to play here, right? There's no other move. And then white gets to play this hane, which Atari's this stone. Sorry. In the real game, you ended up playing A here. Now, black has stones here, black has stones here, black has stones here. This move is useless. It's gonna die. There's no question about it. Like, if you were gonna live somehow or kill something, then sure, play it. But if you can't, then just let this stone die, right? And just use its aji. You should have played this because it's in Sente. Black would have to play here. If he plays somewhere else, Atari, threaten. You can play in here again, and this would be very natural, but let's say he doesn't do that. Let's say he's actually, yeah, he would be pretty scared of getting cut here. If he plays this, you cut, and now these stones are cut off. But so if he plays here, Atari again, he only gets one stone, and now you've broken into his formation, all because you sacrificed this one guy here. But when you don't sacrifice it, then none of that's there anymore. He just plays out and that's it, right? And once again, this is only if he plays here. But even so, you can still play this. Let's say he was scared of the cut and he played this, right? Well, now, if he plays something like that, this sacrifice still works because, boom, he's dead. So he has to answer, right? He has to play some stupid shape. Maybe something like this. But now you can force to cut off these stones. So when you get to this shape where your opponent has a double hane, generally it's very good to Atari on the inside, and then use it to push your enemy around. I implore you to learn that and play that way because it's very good. It's very high level stuff. I'll see if there's anything else in the game that we should talk about. Let's see. I think that, yeah, that was it. Okay, so at this point you lost because black had all this stuff. I'd probably resign too. I didn't see too much weakness where white could get in here. And honestly, it all started with playing this move too close to black's thickness. It allowed him to bully you the whole game and just make points everywhere, right? Right here. He got an extremely good result with this stone here, and you barely get to live, and he gets all the outside influence and influence over here. Let's see. I guess we'll just go over the highlights real quickly of shape. This is a direction lesson, learning, like, you know, when you play stones, they actually influence where you should play next, if that makes sense. So when black does an enclosure here, Black wants to play over here next to make a lot of points. This is very unnormal. I think white should have played here. This is way too close to thickness. That's one of the main fundamentals or principles or whatever you want to call it. It's very important to know in the game and not do it. So do not play too close to your enemy's thickness. This was very bad shape. To try and erase this from your head. When it comes to attaching under or attaching on top, the next move you want to do is to come back to your own stone, usually. I can't say all the time, but it's usually. This was very slow, but you know that. This was also kind of slow, unless you needed it, which, I don't know, my life and death, I guess, isn't with me today, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. You definitely had a good idea here, but you should have followed it up by playing here. And then this main shape that's coming up is very, very awesome that you did this move, because it allowed me to teach you this lesson. But I want you to play like this from now on. If this stone is like, there's no way it's gonna live, just use it for other purposes. Use it to bully around these stones, because a lot of opponents, especially at your level, will just play something else, and now you get to push them around for the next like 4 or 5 moves. Something like that, right? So I do want you to get used to that. Alright, Romie, I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope everyone else did too. Take it easy.